speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside to a Tuesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig with you, and we have a great show for you today. We're going to let you hear from a couple of more basketball coaches that are getting ready to open the season this week. We're going to hear from Matt Olson from Lowville boys basketball and Lee Knepp from Sebring boys basketball. We'll play both those interviews for you. Ty Bartell had a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier, so we're going to play both of those for you today. But before we get to all of that, we are also going to recap the games that we had last night. We are in full swing of basketball mode. Every single team should be at least one game in after last night. And we will start with the game that I was at, because that's the one that I can probably speak about most educatedly, since I was, there and experienced myself. Poland was able to come back on Austin Town Fitch and win 60-52. Fitch had a strong start. They opened the first quarter. It was 15-6 after one. Kind of looked like they were going to control the tempo. Even the whole second quarter, Fitch, they had a pretty good control of the tempo. But then all of a sudden, it was almost like one or two plays Mary Brandt made, and she had a buzzer beater before halftime. All of a sudden, Poland's only down by 2, heading into the locker room. Come out, and a little bit of back and forth to start the third quarter. Poland would tie it up. Fitch would take back the lead. Poland would tie it up. They just couldn't get that bucket to take the lead. But once they did, and I believe it was actually Brooke Rowe that gave them their first lead of the night. And once they kind of took that margin, they broke that ceiling. Felt like the Bulldogs really kind of turned something else on, and they were able to control the game from that point out. They hit some free throws late, even though overall they struggled from the free throw line. They pulled it together in the fourth quarter and hit some really, really clutch free throws to keep Fitch at bay and win this game. Final score there was 60-52. Mary Brandt led the Bulldogs with 20 points. You had Sarah Forsyth with 17. So those were two players that really got into double figures, got deep into double figures. And a lot of people coming into this season were saying, well, how's Poland going to score? I think a lot of people expected them to have good defense. They always do. Defense is going to be a mindset of this team, but who are they going to be the people they lean on? And last night, it was a heavy dose of Mary Brandt and Sarah Forsyth, both of them getting well into the double digits with 20 and 17. Keenan McDonald chipped in, and she definitely did a lot down low, especially on the defensive side. Got a couple of big blocks on some those Fitch guards that love to drive from the perimeter. So, they're going to play defense, but maybe you're going to see a couple of people, really step up and score for this team. A team, like I said, coming into the season, a lot of outsiders doubted. There were some people that put Poland like 5th in the NE8, and I was sitting there looking at that list like, whoa. Like, you take this team that has won every NE8 championship that's been in existence and won all but one of them outright, and you think they're going to be 5th in the NE8. No. Players saw that, Coach Blanche saw that, and they came out and they made a little bit of a statement against a Fitch team that was coming off a win where they scored 91 points, and and Zeta Creaky scored 44. This time around, they held her to 12. Jocelyn Jordan led the Falcons with 13. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with this game, because when I came into this Fitch game, obviously hadn't seen Jocelyn Jordan play basketball since her sophomore year, and even then didn't really get the chance to see them live too much that season. But I really thought, okay, they're just going to use her as a post player, get her in the paint. She's 6'3". Why wouldn't you? I was not expecting them to come out and like the first play of the game, she camps out in the corner and drills a three like she's a shooting guard. And as soon as she did that, and I was like, whoa, okay. If she can consistently hit that shot, she's gonna be really dangerous. But then the next possession, when Fitch took a 5-0 lead, that's when I was like, uh-oh, this is gonna be a problem, because they gave Jocelyn Jordan the ball up top, at the top of the floor. And she just drove right through the lane, dodged some contact, hit a layup, and I was like, well, if she can do that and shoot the three, and you can post her up, they did. It's not like they never put her in the paint, because she's 6'3". You would never just keep her out of the paint. That's going to be a dangerous player to compensate Zeta Creaky on the outside. They have three things that really make you a really good basketball team, in my opinion, that are going to take them far. They just have to control the turnovers. Turnovers killed them last night. But they have a guard that is drive first in Destiny McCullough. She can drive, finish through contact, great at finishing at the rim. She can shoot. Don't get me wrong. She can shoot if you let her. But she is a drive first mentality. You got that. Boom. Okay. You got a girl that you can put inside and actually can go outside too at 6'3". Like, she can do anything you need her to do with Jocelyn Jordan, right? So you got that. Boom. You got Zeta Creaky, who can shoot the three at a deadly pace. Like, 44 points in the season opener, that kind of thing. I don't care who you're playing. You have to make the shots, right? So 44 points, can shoot the three at a very high clip. So you have those three things on offense, and their defense really wasn't that bad last night. A lot of those Poland points came on transition off of turnovers and things like that. And Poland doesn't run your prototypical slow it down half court offense. They really like to play a high tempo of basketball. So half court defense, when they did force Poland into the half court, was really good. I was impressed with Fitch's half court defense. So I think, a lot of people are high on Canfield and AAC, rightfully so. I mean, Canfield looked really good in their opener against West Branch. So rightfully so. You should be high on Canfield. But don't sleep on Fitch. I mean, this is a team that I think has a lot of really good pieces in there. And if they fix a couple of small things, limit the turnovers, definitely stay away from the foul trouble. They fouled a little bit too much last night. They had, I think a couple of players had 3 fouls before halftime. They don't have the depth on their bench at that high level to really go into a lot of foul trouble. So stay out of foul trouble. Keep the turnovers, down a little bit. They're going to be a golden team, and I think Fitch is going to be, for real, maybe a sneaky contender in that AAC. They haven't had a team in a while that has been one of the contenders of the AAC. It's kind of been run by Canfield and Howland the last couple of years. Maybe Fitch is a team that can throw a monkey wrench into that conference this year. Obviously, Warren Harding controlled it a couple of years ago too. Warren Harding a little bit of a downswing, but I've seen them in a scrimmage in the preseason, and they look like they're gearing back up to be the Warren Harding that we have come to know in the last couple of years for girls basketball. So don't sleep on the Raiders either. Obviously, not a Ysn school, but that's a team you got to watch out for. AAC is going to be good at girls basketball this year. That is definitely for sure. All right, let's go through the other scores of last night. We'll start with the first final to come in. Actually, it started early, and it was, I don't know. Can you call this a surprise? I mean, East has been living on a prayer the last couple weeks of the season. I mean, 42-40 though. This is definitely their biggest win of the year so far. They beat Liberty, the reigning district champions, and I'm gonna say I'm starting to believe in East. Like, they sent Lakeview to overtime, lost that game, heartbreaker, but they were down by like 18 at halftime. Came all the way back, took that one to overtime, got a big win over Struthers where they dominated the Wildcats. And Struthers is a team that a lot of people have a lot of respect for. So that's not a slouch Struthers team that they kind of dominated last week. And then they come into this week and they do nothing but just beat the reigning champs, reigning district champs, regional qualifiers, and they beat them at home 42-40. So East is for real. I'm just gonna say it. And when watching that Lakeview game, I can kind of see why they're hard to prepare for. They don't really run an offensive sets, I should say. They just kind of go. Like, let's go, let's use our athleticism, maybe set some screens here and there to get some ISO plays. They from scheme wise, I don't want people to take this and run with it like Anthony's crazy. But for you watch NBA and it kind of drives some basketball purists crazy because they don't really run offensive sets. It's more just get our athletes in space and let them make basketball plays and it's ISO crazy. East is kind of like that. They don't have a lot of offensive sets. They rely on their defense to force transition. They rely on their speed, their athleticism in the half court, and they just kind of go play kind of just basketball. They don't really run offensive plays. They might in that Lakeview game. They might have actually had like four offensive sets that I could like pick out and say, okay, they actually ran a play there. And a lot of them were just like baseline opportunities, baseline out of bounds plays, to be honest. A lot of their basketball comes from just getting athletes in space, getting them one-on-one opportunities and letting them win off the dribble. So that's hard to prepare for because you can't really put out a scout team and say, hey, you're athletic enough to just take our varsity players off the dribble. So we have to we have to mimic that in practice. That's hard to mimic in practice. You can have your JVs run offensive sets in practice, and you can kind of teach them, okay, this is where I want you to screen, this is where they screen. But when they're just, hey, we're just going to take the ball, we're going to isolate one player and just let them make an athletic play, really hard to scout for. I think East is a tough team to prepare for, and that's what makes them so dangerous. They proved that point. 42-40, they win over Liberty. How about Sebring open this season? They dropped one to John Adams, 40-22. We have McDonald falling to Maplewood. Remember, McDonald won last week and gave Coach Matisse his 500th win. A little bit of up and down start as the Maplewood Rockets come in, win a defensive battle 28-25. Mineral Ridge, they have won their first season opener since 2017. They win over East Palestine 43-37. They are 1-0 on the season. This is a program last year that was very young, very green. You could tell that they had a couple of players that definitely could be good at basketball. This weren't there yet, didn't develop yet. Only won 2 games last year, but they're already won. They already have 1 game. And like I said, first season opening victory for Mineral Ridge since 2017. And they will play Sebring on Wednesday. So a lot of good opportunities for Mineral Ridge to build off this opening day victory. East Palestine will be right back in action tonight, actually. They go to Lordstown tonight. So 2 games in 2 days for the Bulldogs. They are 1-1 on the season. Mooney gets back to the win column. They beat Hubbard 44-25. Big bounce back for Mooney as they kind of struggled last week against some quality teams. Really big thriller, and I said yesterday this was going to be a good game. Crestview wins 49-46 over Springfield in a cross MVAC battle. We saw a lot of those yesterday and last week, battles between separate MVAC teams. And with this one, you had Addison Rhodes, who put on a show last week against Beaver Local, dropping 33. And she did not slow down against Springfield. She had a team high and a game high, 29 points to lead the Rebels. Casey Mullen right behind her for Springfield. She scored 24. So we had 2 really good performances from both sides last night, and it was Crestview that got just enough to win 49-46. They swept the triple header. Their freshman won, their JV won, their varsity won. So Crestview looking very good to start the season. Howland, they had that tough game against Salem last night. Last week. They win last night over Ursuline 44-37 to get in the win column, their first win of the season. We have Boardman going to South Range. They brought their defense 44-20. They beat the Raiders. And South Range talked about it a little bit last week when they lost to Edgewood. This is a game where, and this is a team that just has to find their offense, find ways to score, because obviously Lexi Giles last year, who graduated, was a big chunk of their scoring last year, and she graduated. So they're going to take a couple of weeks probably to figure out who's going to be that girl that's going to be a go-to scorer. I think they have a couple of players that can be. I think Madison Dato can be. I think Emma Cunningham definitely can be. We've seen a lot of promise out of her. It's just someone's got to step up and decide that they're going to be that player and take that on their shoulders. And that's going to be something that South Range looks to in the next couple of games before they start NEA play, because I think Coach Fitch would be just fine taking some lumps in the first couple weeks of the season if it meant that they were ready and they were sharp for NE8 play and they were able to go and beat contenders in the NE8 once again. They have finished second or first in the NE8 every year that the NE8 has existed. So the one year they shared it with Poland, every other year they finished right below Poland. So they're looking to keep that train going into the NE8 season, but they do have a couple of more tough games before they get to league play. Champion, they looked like a new team last night. They were able to bounce back after their season opening loss. They win 54-40 over Niles. Big win for the Flashes, who are dealing with a couple of injury bugs. So we hope that they get healthy as soon as possible. And they're the champion team that we have come to know over the years. Newton Falls gets the win over Heartland in the Battle of the Cats, 56-35. Tigers win big over Heartland. Girard is a team that I think, is sneaky in the NE8. Ciesha Triplet was hurt for a chunk of the season last year. She's back. She's healthy. They have a lot of pieces that can hurt you. Abby Rafferty is a really good basketball player. You have Ezra Dede, who we saw grow so much in the volleyball season. I expect her to grow just as much in the basketball season and her skills. So I think Girard's one of those teams. I know a lot of people talk about Struthers being a team in the NE8 that's not named Poland or South Range that can make moves in the conference. And I think that Struthers can too. But I think Girard, CH the triplet gave a lot of people trouble last year when she was healthy. Gave Poland some trouble last year when she was healthy. So Girard's a team that you can't sleep on. They get the win over LeBray last night, 50-29, dominating fashion for Girard. We did have a boys game last night. It was Jackson Milton opening the season at home against Latonia. They get the win 63-31 over the Bears. Monday matchup for the boys. You don't see them play on Mondays too much, but they get one last night, 63-31. Columbiana, they got the win over Lowville last night, 50-30. Gotta love those nice even scores as the Clippers win by 20. The most competitive game of the night last night, though, was in Badger as JFK took a thriller 55-54 over the Braves. Brookfield was able to go on the road and win an inter-MVAC matchup. We talked about these matchups in the cross MVAC. Brookfield took down the defending MVAC champions Waterloo 51-41. Now Waterloo, 2 games in, has as many losses as they had all of last season. They are 0-2, still looking for their first win after 2 very tough games to start the season. So those are your finals from last night. Some of my other takeaways that we haven't talked about yet. I think that the biggest win of the night, in my opinion, like the biggest momentum, like win of the night, it's got to be. I'm going to say Howland. Howland did this. They did not look great against Salem. I think that's a game against Salem where you can really lose a lot of confidence. They didn't shoot too well. If you watch that game against Salem, their offense got what they wanted a little bit with the looks, got some open shots, and they couldn't knock them down. And that kind of game can really spoil the team's confidence if you're not careful. But Coach Pounds comes back and they get a confidence boosting win, 44-37 over a Hearthstone team that a lot of people are high on, has a lot of talent on that team as well. So to come in and get a victory over Ursuline, I think Howland is the team that needed to win the most, and got one. So the Tigers are going to bring a lot of confidence into the next couple games. That could have been a game where I think if Howland lost this game, if Howland lost against Ursuline, it could have very easily derailed the next couple weeks, because then you're sitting there, you have a loss where you were pretty much dominated against Salem, where you probably expected to be in a close game, and it was because shots just weren't falling, and shooters can lose their confidence really quick. So you come into this Ursuline game, and no, their offense didn't blow up. It was 44 points, but at the same time, like, you lose this game, then you lose 2 in a row, and 2 losses in a row against 2 teams that you probably came into the season thinking, we have a chance to win these games. That kind of thing can really put a team down early. So I think Howland really needed this win. They got it. That's a big momentum boost for the Tigers. So they move on, and they will, like I said, that AAC. After I saw Fitch last night, I believe in the Falcons. I've definitely seen Canfield, definitely going to be a tough Canfield team. Howland's in there now, Warren Harding in there as well. So we're going to see who comes out on top in a very, very interesting AAC this year. Last year was shared by Howland and Canfield. So a couple of those players returning. They want to get back to an AAC championship. Who knows, that Ursuline game? I know it's so early to say like this for sure, but that Ursuline game could have been a turning point in the season. We won't know until we see how the Tigers do the rest of the way. We're going to take a quick break on Running Point. When we come back, we will hear some pre-recorded interviews with some boys coaches that are opening the season this week. You'll hear from Lee Knepp from Sebring and Matt Olson from Lowville. When we come back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Or visit us on the web. Check us out online at MyersFamilyINS.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. We thank them for their constant support and sponsorship of not just this show, but YSN and all of its doings. We are going to hear from a great head coach in the area for the boys' side. It is going to be Louisville's Matt Olson. The Rockets open the season tonight as they welcome in Crestview, so it should be a good game. Noah Doty will have the call there. We'll go over all the games that are going to be on the network tonight in a little bit. But first, let's hear from Coach Olson from Louisville. Ty Bartell had a chance to talk with him a little bit earlier, and let's hear what he had to say.
Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we're on the scarlet side of the MVAC conference with the boys basketball. It's Louisville's head coach, Matt Olson, joining me today. Coach Olson, how we doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, not doing too bad. I'm sure you guys are doing real well. Louisville's like on top of the world after that football season. I'm sure a lot of those guys, too, going to be transitioning to basketball now. Some returners. How are practices looking, first and foremost?
Yeah, good. We're just, to be honest, just kind of getting into it right now, full go. Football guys had a great year. They were a little banged up after that Lucas game. A tough team that they played at home. But I was proud of them all year, that the way that they handled themselves. We have a good senior class with good leadership, so I wasn't surprised that they did as well as they did in football. And we're excited about this season. We need to get a little more healthier, but once we get healthy and get into things a little more, we're excited for this year.
Why don't we get a chance to meet the team a little bit more in depth? The guys you're going to be relying on heavily for starting minutes, and maybe some new faces for the Rockets community that they have to get used to.
Yeah, sure. We have 8 seniors, so that's a first since I've been head coach to have 8 seniors, 5 juniors. So we should, like I said, have some good leadership. But Vinny Balone, Anthony Luceni, I think everybody's heard those names. They had some great years last year. And the year before. Brady Banofsky, those 3 have been starters for us since they've been freshmen. Brady's a little banged up right now, but he'll be back for us. So those 3 I really expect to be captains and show leadership on and off the court. We've also had 3 other letter winners and have started at some point for us last season in Ryan Dizdak, Mark Dubas, and Michael Balone. So those 6 all have a lot of varsity experience for us. So we expect a lot out of those guys. Our other seniors, we've had some knee injuries. They've been battling the whole high school. Alex Medelsky, Kevin Johnson, and Ricky Palumbo. So they're looking to kind of get back into it, and they've looked good for us in the preseason. So those are some guys that might be able to help us out and give us some minutes. And then some of our juniors, Matt Lucido, I had already mentioned Michael Balone. Tino Riverio Ocasio is another junior, Ryan Nider, and Braylon Dabney. We also have a big guy, a sophomore, Thomas Dubas. He played on the line for the football team. He's another guy that is looking to compete for some minutes. So, we have a solid 14 guys that are competing for time, which is a good thing, especially in a small school. So practices are going to get a little heated, a little amped up, but that's a good thing. So
with a lot of the same roster back from a year ago and you guys being right there on a conference championship, I got to imagine there's been discussions amongst not only the coaching staff, but amongst just the team as well, as this being a year that you could double up what the football season did and come away with an MVAC championship.
Yeah, obviously that's one of our goals. It has been for a while to win the league and then compete for the district. But yeah, we obviously feel we have a great shot at it. We know it's a long season. When you play 22 games, to come full go and give the energy every night is tough. So we know what we're in for, but we fully expect to compete and win it this year. We do. We do. And if we don't, we feel like that's going to be a little bit of a failure for us. So we fully expect, and the seniors fully expect to compete and win the league.
Talking about that, what kind of needs to be done, or what do you need to see be done over the course of the season? In other words, what are the strengths you're going to need to play to, and what are some things you want to shore up from maybe last year and what you've seen in practices going forward in order to accomplish that goal?
Yeah, we can't be one-dimensional. You know, a lot of times it's easy to look at Vinny to score and stare in the post at Anthony and get him the ball, but you know, those things are predictable. We feel like we're going to have 5 guys out on the floor that all can score. So it doesn't have to just be Vinny. It doesn't have to just be Anthony. If Anthony or Vinny attract a double team, we should find the open man and he should be able to score for us. So I think that's going to be something big for us this year. And we want to run. You know, we feel like we have a lot of guys on the bench and we have a lot of guys that just have a motor that doesn't quit. So we want to up the tempo a little bit and keep running, keep guys fresh. And we haven't been able to do that in the past. We thought, you know, in a few of the previous years we could have done that, but then injuries and other things have limited us a little bit. So, yeah, up tempo and just to be a threat in all positions offensively.
I'm liking to, I mean, outside of the conference schedule, which takes up and eats about 14 games of your regular season, I like what you've done non-conference wise. There's a lot of games on here too that, I mean, they're going to be competitive and tough teams. Talk to me about some of these non-conference games that you're personally excited for to test these boys against the season.
Yeah, that was the thing from the get. I wanted all of our non-conference games to be as tough as possible. I mean, I had told our AD that going back a couple years, we wanted to be as hard as possible. So, you know, it doesn't always work out that way with the scheduling, but you know, we have some tough opponents. Southeast, we got to go up to their place. They have a good senior group, we know. Bristol, we got to go to their place on a Friday night. They're always tough. Valley Christian is going to be another team that we play at home that's tough. East, try to think of some of our other. We got to go to Camel. Camel, we know, lost a lot of guys from last year, you know, with their district championship team, but always going to their place is going to be a little rowdy. Who is trying to think of some of our, South Range at their place. It's supposed to be our second game of the year, but they're going to still be probably playing football. So that's probably going to be moved back, but that's going to be a tough one at their place. So I'm forgetting a couple of them, but we wanted them to be hard games and away. And all the better. Whatever can prepare us for the tournament, we're all for. You know, I've coached for 6 years. This is my 7th year. The past 5 years, we've lost to the eventual district champion. So we know we're close. We want to get over that hump. So I'm hoping, you know, with our schedule, that'll contribute to getting over that a little bit.
A lot of great opponents on that schedule, no doubt, too. And I mean, hey, you guys beat that Camel team last year when they did have all their pieces in Rocket Mortgage, too, to win that Ohio River battle. So you guys were solid a year ago. What I'm kind of curious about, Coach, when you only have 5 starting spots, so many minutes to go around, but so much leadership, so many quality basketball players on a team, what kind of determines who gets minutes, who gets starting time? What do you need to see in practices? What do you and your staff need to see in practices to kind of determine that?
Yeah, I mean, if we feel like we have 6 guys ready for varsity minutes, we're going to go with 6 guys. If we feel like we have 12, we'll go with 12. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to get equal time, but if we feel like they can contribute varsity minutes for us, they're going to play. I mean, if we can get more bodies in there and have fresh legs, it's going to help us that much more. So, and it's a combination of things, you know, at the varsity level. You know, do you mesh with the other 4 guys? Are you? The main thing with me is, are you taking good shots and are you playing hard defense? And as long as you're doing those things and aren't hurting us offensively, you're probably going to get some time. But that is one of our concerns, having 8 seniors, 5 juniors, to try to keep everybody happy with playing time. You know, we've had those conversations. The positive is these guys have all grown up together and they all like each other on most days, at least. So we've had those conversations. But like I said, if we feel we have 10, 12 guys ready, they're going to get their time.
What do you hope the boys would say that are seniors now? What do you hope after they graduate they take away from this boys basketball program and that they say they've taken away from you as their head coach?
Well, I hope they've grown and learned the game of basketball, but I also hope they've learned a little bit about themselves and hard work. And I hope we've taught them, some life lessons along the way. I just know with this senior group, what they've gone through, from junior high till now, they're going to have some success in track. But as far as team sports, football, basketball, baseball, they're hungry to win. And and I know they won the league in football, but they're hungry to keep winning. And we really want to get that tournament this year. And I know they're hungry to do that. I know they were hungry and disappointed. They wanted to go further in football. But it's so close, the margin of error in playoffs. That they were right there with Lucas. A few things go a different way. Brady doesn't get injured. Who knows what could have happened. And things like that have happened to us in the past. We were in the district finals a few years ago. My best player, Matt Bizdak, got his 6th foul, and it went the opposite way. So the margin of error is so close. But I know these seniors are very hungry to try to win that tournament. But I'm hoping they learn some stuff along the way too.
The deeper you go in that tournament, the more of a roll of a dice it becomes, certainly, Coach. And I mean, looking at this, are you a firm believer of success breeds success? In other words, do you think that this season that they've had in football too, winning that conference too, do you think that there could be carryover success, carryover momentum now from that going right into basketball season?
I do. Mentality is a big thing. A lot of times the game is won before they even step out on the floor. But I know these kids believe that they could beat and win anybody on any given night. And sometimes that comes in, bites us in the butt. They're a little too confident or come into an opposing gym and don't prepare themselves, like they would against a top-notch opponent, say. So it's definitely important. You look at successful programs, they started somewhere, but once they get successful, it just that pattern seems to continue. I don't know. It seemed like we got over the hurdle a few years ago when we finally, we lost to McDonald every year for years, and finally we got over them one year, and now it's like, okay, the confidence is building, and we had a 20-win year last year. We're a little short of our goals, but we were right there, and we're hoping to get over that hump this year.
I know you guys are all hungry to keep on building from that. You're never satisfied with what happened the last year. And I mean, that's every athlete's kind of mentality, I feel. I also know it's a team mentality as far as the coaching staff is concerned too. If you want to have great programs too, it takes more than just a head coach. So in saying that, Coach, I want to get a chance to meet your staff, meet some other big names in the Lowville boys basketball program that you'd like to give a shout out to.
Yeah, Steve Hunt has been with me for as long as I can remember. He does more for these kids behind the scenes than anybody, including myself. So I really appreciate his help, and I know these kids all look up to him, and we wouldn't be where we're at as a program without him. So I really appreciate him and my whole my whole staff. Nick Ballone has been with me from the beginning too. He helps out with our JVs and varsity. Mike Minnie is our freshman coach. He helps out too. Steve Hunt, my assistant, has a little bit of trouble seeing with his vision. So Mike helps out with him and rides and stuff. So that's very, very much appreciated. We do have a new face on our varsity staff this year, Spiro Sheldon. He actually played not for me. Mike Mangine was the head coach. I was an assistant at the time, but he was a player, always loyal. So those are the 5 varsity guys on staff. The main thing with me is I can trust all of them. I can trust all of them. I know they'll do whatever for me. I know the kids all enjoy them. So, yeah, those guys have been with me, and I appreciate all of them. Obviously, all the kids, the administration, everybody's on board this year. It's easy when you're winning. Everybody's on board this year. So I've had to fight people away, kind of. So we're just excited to get going. I mean, we've only been practicing for 3 days, but I mean, we would play tomorrow if we could.
We're super excited for this upcoming season for you guys as well, Coach. And if everything we've already talked about hasn't gotten the community excited, let's put a bow on this and a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Shout out why that community needs to get out there and support this boys basketball team this year.
Same reason they supported football. These kids show a lot of passion, a lot of heart. They're going to give it everything they got every night. Like I said, 22 games is a long season, so it gets a little redundant, once you get into January, February. So we need that energy. We need everybody's support. It's been, I don't remember the last year where we won the league. It's been a number of years and a district championship. So, to get people in that gym, let's fill it up. Let's get excited. Let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Head coach Matt Olson and the Lowville Rockets are ready for takeoff, and we're ready here on YSN Live as well. Don't forget, you could catch some Rockets basketball games on ysnlive.com for completely free this year, thanks in part to our wonderful sponsors once again. This has been a first edition of Coach's Corner with Ty Bartell and Lowville boys basketball coach Matt Olson.
Matt Olson and the Rockets open the season tonight against Crestview at home. Should be a really fun one. That's going to be a 7 o'clock tip-off. Noah Doty will make the trip down to Lowville to have the call. And we're looking forward to a really good season out of the Rockets. Most of the pieces that made them really good last year are still there. And Coach Olson rolled out the red carpet for the names, Lucente, Balone, Bonovsky, all those kids are going to make for a really strong basketball season for the Rockets. They hope to win the MVAC again. And like you said, take that next step in the tournament and win a district championship for this program that has been so good for so long when it comes to how many games they've won, but haven't been able to crack that ceiling. So we'll see what the Rockets have in store for themselves. Definitely the first goal is the MVAC. They'll have a cross MVAC matchup tonight against Crestview coming to town. And one of the teams that they'll have to play twice this year is Sebring. Ty Bartell had a chance to catch up with their boys basketball head coach Lee Knapp. Great guy, took over the program last year, had him on the program. He's a great interview, great guy, great conversation. Can't wait to see what Sebring has up in their arsenal this year. Wish them nothing but the best of luck, because when you see good people leading a program, you can't help but just root for them. So this is Lee Knapp from Sebring. Let's hear what he had to say with Ty Bartell a little bit earlier to preview the Sebring basketball season.
Welcome in, everybody. Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we go to the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference's Scarlet Side with the Sebring Trojans basketball coach, Mr. Lee Knapp. How are we doing today, Coach Knapp?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on today. Really appreciate all the coverage that you guys do and the exposure you give to our local teams. Thank you so much.
It's no issue whatsoever, Coach. We love doing it. We love being your hype man, and we're excited to have another season of Sebring basketball on the network. Let's just start right there. Talk to me a little bit about how practices have been going. What have you been seeing from practices, and what are your initial takeaways?
Yeah, guys are continuing to buy into our culture and our philosophies. The kids are, buying in, as I said, communicating on a defensive end, just continue to improve on our fundamentals. And we just kind of continue to compete every day. And the guys that really have done that have shown that we had a really good off season in the spring, summer, and fall. We bring back an experienced group, so we're hoping that helps us a little bit this season.
I'm excited to get a chance to meet that group. So why don't you give us a meet the team segment now? Why don't we meet those experienced players? Maybe some new faces that might be helping along around the season.
Yeah, we would bring back 4 returning lettering winners. They all gained valuable varsity experience last year. We bring back Scott Boston, second team all MVAC Scarlet tier. He's a guard. He's very versatile. Caden Shepard, Cade Leisure. Cade was only able to play half the season last year due to the transfer rule, so we'll have him this full season. So those 3 seniors, and then we bring back our 6'3" post player in Dustin Black, and he played a lot as a sophomore. So those 4 players, and then we bring in a couple of new faces here. Javion Condiff, who's a really good football player for our football team. He'll be a senior. Joel Seals, a junior. He didn't play last year. And then we'll be bringing also a sophomore, Caleb Rolls, and a junior, Colby Cliff-Mueller. So hopefully those guys will be in our rotation, and they'll complement each other pretty well.
It's got to be exciting having all these faces still coming out for basketball too, despite the senior group that you had leave a year ago. You've always been hinting at building this culture, getting kids to buy in and just continuing to keep building this program. So what does the next step of that look like? You kind of got your bricks laid down last year. You lost some seniors, but you're getting some experience back. It feels like a lot more experience back than maybe that you lost. So what does that kind of look like, the next step of development for this team?
Yeah, just continue to buy in, have the right mindset, giving great effort, great attitudes, things that we can control. We're really honing in on those seniors here to provide that leadership, whether it be from a vocal standpoint or, leading by example. We're just hoping that, an extra year in with our program here, learning our system and our goals here, it's going to be helpful for us.
Every team has those strengths. You got to play to them in order to win ball games. So in saying that, and what you've seen and your coaching staff has seen so far from this group, what would you say the strengths of this Trojans team are going to be this year?
I think we're going to, with the experience here, it's going to help us in any different type of game situations, different styles of play that we may face. Decent guard play by our three senior guards. They're able to they can handle the ball, they can get to the rim a little bit, and they can also shoot the ball. Got to keep on playing a little bit better defense here, but that from our guard standpoint, I think that's a strength of our team. We just lack some depth, though.
As I mentioned, Scarlet side of the MVAC conference. Give us a little bit of a conference outlook from a head coaching perspective. Always it seems like a tough conference. It seems like you never know who could come out of the top of it. Looking at the conference too, what are some things you guys are going to need to do right this year in order to be competitive in that conference?
Yeah, we're just going to have to be more consistent. There's a lot of times last year we play 2 good quarters and 2 not so good quarters, or 3 really good quarters and 1 not so good quarter. So we got to string together really good possessions and minimize our turnovers, value the basketball, rebound, do those little things here to win extra possessions and help us compete better. Our league's so tough. There's so many good programs and there's so many good coaches and players. It's a dogfight day in and day out. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of good teams in our conference.
I've seen so many programs in a variety of sports that have made quick turnarounds, that have gone from losing seasons to winning seasons within a span of as short as a year. You need the right coaches and the right people in place to do it. So in saying that, what keeps you coming back to Sebring boys basketball? What gives you that love, that drive to be the head coach of this program, see it out, continue to build it, and try to get it to where you want it to be?
Yeah, just a love of basketball. I enjoy the game so much. I've had a great experience playing at Marlington in high school, and then I was able to coach there for 1 year. And then I actually teach at Lake local schools, and I've been in with Coach McBride with the Lake Blue Streaks for the last 12 years as a coach on his staff. So I learned a lot with the X's and O's and strategies, and playing over there in the Federal League has really helped me prepare me for this position here at Sebring. And then Sebring's just a basketball town, as you know, the tradition here, the culture. We're just trying to preserve that culture. If you look in the gym, if you look in Brook Gym, it's named after Coach Brook. Has a mural of himself. And then if you just look up the banners with all those sectional and district championships and a couple of regional runs and 3 Final Four appearances in program history, there's a lot to be said. And we really respect that and honor that. And it's just an amazing feeling to be part of that.
You highlighted your playing career, Coach. I'm kind of curious, when was that exact moment where you wanted to be a coach, where you knew you wanted to take that to the next level and start teaching the next level of basketball players rather than being a participant?
Yeah, probably during high school. My dad was a coach. He was a football coach at Waterloo, but and I actually played football in college. But I like coaching football, but once I got coaching in basketball, I just really fell in love with it and just the game itself and just the experiences that it brings and just being around the game. I just love it so much. So I love impacting student athletes and putting them in the right positions to succeed.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received that you've kind of taken with you and utilized throughout your coaching career?
Just the mindset of effort and attitude. Those are 2 things that we can control every day. Our high school coach would always hone in on that every year, or every season. So I always I bring that to the table here when we're talking about our team here. You can't really control what other people say, act, or do, but you can control how hard you work and the attitude that you bring every day.
How about coaching yourself a little bit? Let's go back to the Marlington playing days, Coach Knepp. If you had a chance to coach yourself right now, what does Lee Knepp, the coach, say to Lee Knepp, the player?
Oh, just continue to buy into what you're doing. There's some things looking back I could have done differently in the off season, maybe, making basketball more of a priority. I focused a lot on football when I was growing up in track, but looking back at it, I wish I would have worked better with my fundamentals and getting better in the basketball end. It was really neat. Actually, yesterday we scrimmaged Malvern in a scrimmage with Shenandoah, and I was able to reach back out to Coach Dennis Tucci. He was my high school coach at Marlington. He's now at Malvern. He's pretty legendary down there. So it was nice to reach out back to him and talk to him about my playing days with him, and then just talking about different coaching experiences.
I'm sure you saw everything kind of come full circle right there on one basketball court. That had to be a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, some of the different same calls as he had, and I was like, because he was running all kinds of different defenses at us, and we were adjusting on the fly. So every time he would yell out something, we would have to counter it with a certain press breaker or different offense.
As you mentioned, Coach, it's definitely one of those basketball towns. Talking about Sebring, there's a deep love for basketball. And one thing I've really loved locally, competition levels are raising everywhere in the sport of basketball. It seems like the sport is just getting better and better in our area every year that passes. When saying that too, your conference is already going to take care of 14 games on your schedule. When you're looking at the non-conference slate, though, what are some of those games you're excited about to test these boys against this year that you think might be beneficial right before a tournament?
Yeah, any day we get to go out and compete is a great day for us. There's a lot of good competition, whether it be an NVAC in our non-league conference. Our non-league looks like we have a couple. We play Kingsway Christian, Hartville Christian right off the bat, and then we mix in Lordstown, Maplewood, and Chalker. We actually start off with a back-to-back on Friday, December 2nd at Cortland, Maplewood, and then we go up to Southington Chalker the next day. So that'll be quite a challenge right off the beginning of the season. And then we also play St. John, Latonia, and East Canton. So we've seen some of those teams from last year, and so we're excited about those different teams.
We're excited for them as well, Coach. Before we let you go, I also want to give you the chance to kind of highlight your coaching staff, highlight some maybe other big names in the administration and the program that you feel need some spotlight and recognition right now.
Obviously, Brian Clark, he's a legend in his own. He's now the building principal. He was the athletic director last year and a teacher. He's been a Sebring legend. He took over after Coach Brook retired here. So he's been very helpful and very instrumental in my development here. And whenever I have a question, we can always have a discussion, and he's been very helpful in a lot of different ways. Our athletic director, Anthony Agresta, he's the football coach. He's been very helpful. I've really enjoyed talking with him. And then our coaching staff's been really great here. I have a couple of Sebring grads, and Joseph Davis, Mike Harshman. Coach Harshman played for Coach Brook back in the day. So that's great to hear the different experiences that he's had. And then I brought over Ryan Johanning, a friend of mine from when I coached at Lake. He was at Glen Oak, and he's a really good friend of mine. So we have a really good coaching staff, and they're really good leaders for our players.
Typically, if you mention Sebring and basketball in the same sentence, it's enough to flood the Trojan faithful into that gym. But we're going to give you a little bit more time for some shameless self-promotion here, like we do with all of our area coaches. Let that community know why they need to get out and support you guys this year.
Yeah, we love the game of basketball. We get after it. We compete. We're a basketball town. We're excited about the different opportunities each day to get better. And we're just our style of play can be exciting if we do the right things and do our job. So we're looking for an exciting season and getting after it each day.
Lee Knepp, the skipper of the Sebring Trojans, is gearing up ready for another season at the helm of the boys basketball team. We get ready for you as well here on ysnlive.com. And don't forget, you can catch some Sebring Trojans boys basketball games this year on the network. Once again, completely free, thanks in part to our wonderful sponsors. This has been the 2022-23 first edition of Coach's Corner with head coach Lee Knepp of Sebring boys basketball.
Lee Knepp from Sebring, great conversation. He's always a great guy. Like I said before the interview went on, Sebring opens the season on Friday at Maplewood, and then the very next day on Saturday they're on the road as well as they go to Chalker. So 2 games in 2 days for Sebring. That's not an easy thing to do, but the Trojans look to start 2-0 on the year this weekend, and we wish them the best of luck this whole season. Can't wait to see what they have in store. Also want to take time to thank Coach Knepp and Coach Olson for their time, giving us a preview, talking to Ty Bartel, and adding to our list of basketball previews that we've been able to do here in the preseason. I guess you could say that this is officially non-preseason anymore. We have a full slate of basketball tonight on the network. We'll start with the top of the list, which is always alphabetical order based on the away team. Akron East comes to Cheney tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off. It's going to be Jamie Thompson on the call there in Cheney. A lot of excitement around that Cowboys boys basketball program, and we'll see what they have in store. Beaver Local will be traveling to Columbiana. Joe Cebio going to be on the call there. 7 o'clock tip-off in the Clippers hangar. Campbell Memorial travels to Boardman. Donnie Riccatelli got you covered. 7 o'clock tip-off. We have Canfield at Lakeview. Sam, our Lakeview buddy, will be down there covering the Bulldogs. He does a great job with them. Cardinal Mooney will be at Liberty. Alec Caberna will be on the call there. Then we have Crestview at Lowville. We just talked about that one a little bit ago with the interview with Coach Olson. It'll be Noah Doty on the call with that game, 7 o'clock tip-off. Hubbard will travel to Youngstown East. David Williams will travel with the Eagles, 7 o'clock tip-off there. Matt Mayer and Jordan will be in Champion as Maplewood comes to town. Sebring might be watching that game because they have to play at Maplewood on Friday, so maybe a chance for Coach Knepp and the Trojans to do some scouting tonight on ysnlive.com. 7 o'clock start in Middle Ridge. I'll be in Rams country as they take on Newton Falls. Battle of Orange and Black. And that Middle Ridge gym, hard to play in. It's the home of the Golden Megaphone given to some of the best student sections in the state of Ohio. Salem travels to Niles. Ian O'Brien on the call there with the Red Dragons. Howland at Poland, that'll be handled by the students at Poland. They do a great job with a school broadcast there. And then other games that will be happening tonight on the boys basketball scene. United will travel to Heartland Christian. Latonia travels to Badger. Southern goes to Edison. And Wyndham goes to Waterloo. One girls basketball game on the network tonight. Beaver Local will be at East Liverpool for a big rivalry game, 7 o'clock tip-off there. CJ Schroeds will have the call. So that'll do it for what's on tap tonight. Make sure to head over to ysnlive.com/live to check out the whole schedule. All those games are free thanks to our wonderful sponsors on YSN. Tomorrow, we're going to be back from 1 to 2, and I am very excited to announce that tomorrow is the start of Wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Altizer. He'll be on with us right at the jump from 1 o'clock to talk a little bit about the wrestling scene in the area. Last year had a very impressive wrestling season. Last year had plenty of representatives at the individual state meet, had the South Range Raiders win the team state meet. So we have a lot to look forward to, a lot to talk about tomorrow with Gary Altizer, the head coach of the Wellsville Tigers wrestling team and our in-house wrestling guru. He'll be joining us all winter on every Wednesday to talk about wrestling. So happy to start that tomorrow. Get that out of the way, and we're gonna have some fun tomorrow with Scotty Mincher also in the studio. So it's gonna be a good time on Running Point tomorrow from 1 to 2. Check us out. Hey, guess what? Power Hour coming up from 3 to 4, and then we will have also the South Range Football Show tonight from Legends Food and Drink to go along with all the basketball that is going to be going on as well. So make sure if you are want to head out down to Legends Food and Drink, say hi to DJ Oakley, say hi to Coach Yeagley and the South Range Raiders. Do that. You can flip up your phone, flip up your laptop, check out basketball while you're there. It's going to be a fun night. Check out everything on ysnlive.com/live. That's where you'll find all the games that we'll be at. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Signing off.